Great. I'm coming from the west coast of Ireland, so plant-based is all good out here. And
Yeah,
just to kind of give you an idea, so this is what we're looking out at. This is where our offices are based. So grass-fed, nothing but yeah, it's all good.
it looks beautiful.
Good stuff. So what I would like to talk about is the application of different breathing techniques, and this will include, I suppose, what got me into breathing in terms of being able to decongest your nose, improving your sleep quality, improving your blood circulation and your oxygen delivery. So, in the title that I was talking about earlier on, I was conveying that not all breathing exercises are the same. So, it's really important to understand when you do a breathing exercise, what is that breathing exercise actually doing to your body? The idea of taking a deep breath could be the worst thing or the worst instruction possible. Because what happens when you breathe too much air? So I'll start off with that. And part of this is I would just be talking off the cuff. I've been training and giving breathing exercise for 21 years and working with hundreds and many people with anxiety and panic disorder, with obstructive sleep apnea, with snoring, with asthma and respiratory complaints. And we've worked with long COVID. We also work with military. We work with corporates. We work with sports people. So we have the health arm and then we have the performance arm. So what I'm going to do is a little bit of both. Many of you are listening to me. You may have an interest in anxiety, panic disorder. You may have an interest in sleep. You might just be curious about, is there a way to breathe to dilate your blood flow, dilate your blood vessels? So I got into breathing from having asthma. And when you have asthma, you have a condition, of course, with your lungs, and inflammation in your lungs travels up to your nose. And if you have a stuffy nose, you are 2 to 3 times more likely to have sleep problems. So people with respiratory complaints don't just have a respiratory problem, they're also more likely to have a sleep problem. They're waking up feeling tired. It's very common to have a sleep problem. 30% of the Western population in adults have insomnia, 10% have it chronically. Between 25 to 50% of men, studied men, have a condition called obstructive sleep apnea. In females, it's a lot less until post-menopause, and it increases 300%. And obstructive sleep apnea post-menopause is associated with dysregulation of the autonomic nervous system. So coming back full circle, when we think about breathing, we should be thinking about breathing in and out through our nose, both during rest, during physical exercise, and also during sleep. Your nose performs all of the functions when it comes to breathing. Your mouth has no function whatsoever. By breathing through your nose, you increase oxygen uptake in the blood by nearly 10%. But also, if you do your light physical exercise and yoga and whatever you're doing with your mouth closed, there's increased oxygen delivery to the working muscles, so your recovery is better. By breathing through the nose, we have a connection via the olfactory nerve, and all of this communication is going from the nose to the brain. And if we breathe through our mouth, we bypass this. So, for example, we select our mates, we select our partners based on the communication, and it is influenced via the olfactory nerve. So what happens with mouth breathing? Well, with mouth breathing, we pretty much have no functions devoted to breathing other than allowing the air to go straight down our throat. Now, despite this, 25 to 50% of studied children persistently mouth breathe. What does it do? When your children or your grandchildren are breathing through their mouth, it's going to impact their sleep. But if their sleep is impacted, it's going to impact their academic ability. And also, if the child's sleep is impacted, it can increase the risk of special education needs. So, for example, in one study of 11,000 people that was published in the journal Pediatrics in 2012, they looked at the incidence of sleep disorder breathing, and it was published. She's an American researcher, actually. Her name is Karen Bonnock. So I'll be weaving in a little bit of science, and I do promise you that I think you'll find it interesting, and I will give you the practical application here. So I'll give you the exercises, how simple techniques to help open up your nose, etc. So just bear with me 1 second. So this is a really interesting paper involving 11,000 children from Stratford-upon-Avon in the United Kingdom. We never consider this when we think about mouth breathing during sleep. So the researchers here looked at children's sleep from age 6 months to 57 months. And their conclusion was that if a child has a history of sleep disorder breathing at 5 years of age, and if it's untreated, the child has a 40% increased risk of special education needs by age 8. And this was a study of 11,000 children, and it's published in the journal Pediatrics, a high impact journal. So why should sleep and breathing be connected with children? Well, if a child has sleep disorder breathing, that's including snoring, sleep apnea, and also mouth breathing is a hallmark factor there. Both may affect brain development and cause neuronal damage, particularly during critical early developmental periods. So it's really important that both children and adults that we get sufficient slow wave sleep, because this is the most restorative form of sleep. But if their sleep has been disrupted, this is going to impact decision-making, ambition, and emotional regulation. Disrupting this process via sleep fragmentation, or when there's a drop in your blood oxygen saturation, may affect the frontal cortex function and lead to aspects of childhood obstructive sleep apnea. So basically, behavioral sleep problems characterized by inadequate and fragmented sleep. It affects behavior in children, cognition, and language development. Sleep disorders, it's causing delayed or linked to delayed development, speech language impairment, adverse behavioral and cognitive effects. In the United States, there are 3 million children aged between 6 to 21 years of age who are receiving special education for conditions associated with sleep disorders, developmental delay, learning disability, or autism. And 40 to 80% of these kids also have attention deficit disorder. Any children who are having their mouth open, if they have the multi-symptom expression of sleep disorder breathing hallmark symptoms such as snoring, stopping of the breath, and just for children, if they stop breathing for 2 breaths or more, and mouth breathing, this is a risk factor. So this isn't just applying to, of course, adults. We have to think of our kids as well. So coming back to the nose has an estimated 30 plus functions. The mouth is zero. And despite this, 25 to 50% of studied children breathe through an open mouth. It impacts their craniofacial development. They're more likely to have overcrowding of teeth. Their jaws are set back. In adults, mouth breathing is activating, of course, more upper chest breathing, fight or flight response, increased sympathetic drive, increased stress response, and mouth breathing is impacting sleep. So sleep is lighter. You don't wake up feeling as refreshed. You're more likely to snore, and you're more likely to have obstructive sleep apnea. So nose breathing is where it's at. You know, when you go for a walk the next time, yes, when you switch to nasal breathing, it's going to be a little bit more difficult because the air hunger is a little bit stronger initially, but the more you breathe through your nose during physical exercise, the air hunger diminishes. Always remember, your nose is for breathing and your mouth is for eating, for drinking, and for speaking. So during physical exercise and during sleep. Now, 50% of you here will be waking up with a dry mouth in the morning. And obstructive sleep apnea, as I said earlier on, it affects 25 to 50% of studied men. And in women, it doesn't affect so many up until about age 50, 51, 52. Post-menopause, sleep disorder breathing increases by 300%. And there is an association with obstructive sleep apnea and the symptoms of menopause, post-menopause, including hot flushes, etc. So dysregulation of the autonomic nervous system. So if we think of the autonomic nervous system, how do we bring the body and mind into balance? We have to think about breathing. 75% of people with anxiety and panic disorder have dysfunctional breathing patterns. So what does that mean? Well, the best way to think about good breathing and poor breathing is ask yourself, how do you breathe when you get into a tricky situation? So the next time you're feeling stressed, how do you breathe? Does your breathing get faster or does it get slower? And you'll find that your breathing is getting faster. Is it upper chest or is it driven by the diaphragm? And you're more likely to experience upper chest breathing. Is it regular breathing or irregular? You're more likely to notice that you sigh frequently. You know, when we feel a bit uncomfortable, we sigh more. We're feeling air hunger. We just feel that we can't take a satisfying breath, especially if it's quite a bit of stress, mouth breathing. And this is involving effortful breathing. Now, the best way then to bring the body into relaxation, because ultimately that's what we want to do. And it's a pretty fine line, you know, if we're in this stress state for too long, it's not good because it leads to burnout. And there is an association between poor breathing patterns such as hyperventilation syndrome and burnout. So when we think about burnout, we're thinking about the corporate, but, you know, stressful situations in family life, people pushing themselves too hard during physical exercise. So when we think about exhaustion syndrome and burnout and fatigue, that is associated with poor breathing patterns. But the one thing about our breathing is that we can influence it. So instead of breathing faster, we need to breathe slow, really slow down the speed of our breathing. Instead of breathing up our chest, we want to have good recruitment of the diaphragm. Instead of sighing, we want to have regular breathing patterns. Instead of feeling air hunger, we want to change our breathing so that our breathing is effortless. And instead of breathing through the mouth, we want to be breathing through the nose. These are great tools to be able to self-regulate. This is activating the body's rest and digest response to relaxation response. So when we think about the breath, we have to ask, what way do we breathe? How will it change states? If you want to stress the body and mind, and a controlled stress is quite good for the human body, once we don't push it too hard. Physical exercise, if done right, is a controlled stress, and it causes positive adaptations, improve the immunity, etc. But if we overdo it during physical exercise, that's at a point that the stress is too much, and that has negative consequences. So when it comes to breathing, if you want to stress the body and mind, you could hyperventilate, controlled hyperventilation. You could be doing it for 20 breaths, 30 breaths. You could do it for a half an hour. Always bear in mind, when does a good stress become a bad stress? Would I do hyperventilation for a half an hour? I'd be quite reluctant because I know too well what's happening. People do get release in terms of emotional content when they breathe hard and fast, that it can cause release. But just bear in mind, this is also causing blood vessels to constrict. There's reduced blood flow to the brain. There's reduced oxygen delivery throughout the body. You're activating the stress response. Short term is okay, but it depends on the person. The other way to stress the body is to do a breath hold. Do a long breath hold. You could breathe in and hold your breath for a long time, or you could breathe out and hold your breath for a long time. So these are two main ways of stressing the body and mind. If we want to activate the body's rest and digest response, rest and relaxation, rest and digest, we can breathe light, very lightly. Light breathing is all about breathing a little bit less air to the point of air hunger. This way you can improve your blood circulation. Breathe slow. The body is telling the brain that everything is okay. Breathe low. And tied in with this is nose breathing. So if you want to stress the body and mind, hyperventilate or do a long breath hold. If you want to activate the rest and digest response, breathe light, breathe slow, breathe low. This is nose breathing. So the real question here is there a way to breathe to improve blood oxygen transfer? So I'm just going to change colors here. So how can we increase oxygen uptake from the lungs into the blood? The key here is breathing in and out through the nose. And very simply, by breathing through the nose, you pick up a gas called nitric oxide. And nitric oxide helps to open up the small blood vessels in the lungs. And nitric oxide helps to redistribute the blood throughout the lungs so that a better gas exchange takes place. So nose breathers do have an increased pressure of oxygen in the blood by nearly 10%. Mouth breathing doesn't do that for you. The mouth isn't designed for breathing in through the nose and out through the mouth. Your nose has about 30 functions, both inhaling through the nose and exhaling through the nose, and of course with your tongue resting up in the roof of your mouth. But how then can you improve oxygen delivery from the blood to the tissues and organs, including the heart? Your heart needs its own supply of blood flow and oxygen, and the brain. How can you improve? Do you know how much oxygen the brain consumes? The brain consumes 20% of our oxygen uptake. Sorry, the brain consumes 20% of the oxygen we bring into the body. But if we are breathing in a certain way, there's reduced oxygen delivery to the brain. What would cause reduced oxygen delivery to the brain? If our breathing is a little bit faster, if our breathing is a little bit harder. So if we breathe a little bit too fast and too hard, it means that we breathe too much air. And by breathing too much air, we get rid of too much carbon dioxide. So we're losing carbon dioxide from the lungs, and this in turn is going to reduce carbon dioxide in the blood. And as we lose carbon dioxide in the blood, this drives blood pH up. And as blood pH increases, hemoglobin, which is the main carrier of oxygen in the blood, holds onto oxygen more readily. So this is coming back to the title. Are there breathing techniques out there that are telling you that the more air you breathe, take that full breath, take that deep breath, that there's more oxygen being delivered throughout the body? That's not correct. That's not true. So there was a discovery made back in 1904 called the Bohr effect. And the Bohr effect simply states that as carbon dioxide increases in the blood pH drops and the hemoglobin affinity for oxygen reduces. In other words, the red blood cells are releasing oxygen in the presence of carbon dioxide. So how then can we improve oxygen delivery? And how can we improve blood flow? And once you have these tools, you have these tools for life. But it's not by breathing through the mouth. We can also activate the body's rest and digest response. When we breathe in, it's more activated by sympathetic nervous system because the vagus nerve steps back. And the vagus nerve is this nerve that's wandering throughout the human body, innervating the major organs. And 80 to 90% of the communication of the vagus nerve is from the body up to the brain. So you can imagine this nerve that's wandering throughout your body. And it's sending all of this information from the body up to the brain. So during inspiration, the vagus nerve steps back. Whenever we want to think about activating the relaxation response, it's all in the exhalation. So the exhalation is primarily under the control of the body's rest and digest response. If you breathe out fast, say for example, you're stressed and your breathing is faster, your expiration is fast, so you have a fast exhalation. When you have a fast exhalation during sleep or during rest, what's the body telling the brain? The body is telling the brain that there is a threat outside. And the brain is here to protect the body. The brain is here to ensure that we survive. So the brain wants you to get out of this situation. The brain is putting you into a fight or flight response. And that's why we can't think straight. Can you think straight when you're in a difficult situation? And it comes back to, there was a podcast by a brain surgeon. He was being interviewed by Dr. Rangan Chatterjee. The brain surgeon's name was Dr. Rahul. And Dr. Rahul says, you can imagine a brain surgeon going in of a Monday morning. And Dr. Rahul said, when I get into a tricky situation, the first thing I do is prevent myself from hyperventilating. Now, how many of you, when you get into a tricky situation, how many of you know how to change your breathing patterns? It's not by taking the full big breath. So that's really where breathing is. Breathing is about building up your resilience, and breathing is about improving and changing states so that you can help to bring a calmness and a quietness to the mind. And that's why, when we think about mindfulness, observation of the breath and awareness of the breath, is it enough if you have 75% of the population with anxiety having dysfunctional breathing? So let's just look at this for a moment. And as I said, we will do some practical. So normally I'd rather even though I had a presentation ready for you, I don't always stick with them. So this is an interesting paper by a professor of physical therapy from the United States. And he looks at 51 individuals and he tests their breathing from a biochemical point of view, a biomechanical point of view, and only 10% of people passed it. But he talks also in this paper that 75% of the anxiety population have dysfunctional breathing, 50% of people with lower back pain, 50%. So in other words, they have dysfunctional breathing. They are more likely to be breathing in the upper chest. The diaphragm breathing muscle, which is located at the base of your ribs, isn't just for respiration, but it also provides stabilization for the spine. Now, what I would like you to do is to look down at your chest and take the breath through the mouth. So when you look down at your chest and breathe through your mouth, you see that you're upper chest breathing. Mouth breathing is upper chest breathing. Mouth breathing is faster. Faster than upper chest breathing, your body is telling the brain that things are not okay. Your brain is here to protect you. The next time that something happens, and start off with small situations, pay attention to your inhalation and have a really slow and relaxed, gentle exhalation. And breathe out as softly and slowly as you can. Because whenever throughout our evolution, whenever we got into a stressful situation, we didn't have a slow and prolonged exhalation. Stress is always synonymous with a fast exhalation. But we can use this to our advantage. If stress is always synonymous with a fast expiration, well, why not have a really slow and relaxed and prolonged exhalation? And you're telling the body, the body is telling the brain that everything is okay. And the brain is going to send signals of calm back to the body. So let's start with a few different exercises. And this time I am going to pull up a small present. No, I won't. I'll just do it off the cuff. So whenever you're ready, I would like you to do small breath in and a small breath out. So you're taking a normal breath in through your nose and a normal breath out and holding your nose for a count of 5. This is very easy. This is just helping to stimulate the vagus nerve. So we're going to warm up. This is our warm up when it comes to breathing. And by the way, when you do a breath hold like this, it will increase blood flow to the brain because of when carbon dioxide increases in the blood vessels dilate. And we will have you experience this and we'll put it into chat and see how many of you were able to experience it, how many of you are not experiencing it. So just out of interest, there's a group of about 70 people, 80 people here. We'll see, are you able to influence your body temperature via your breathing? Are you able to activate the rest response and the digest response via your breathing? You're into food. How many people are eating food and they're in that increased sympathetic drive? So in order to digest the food, we need to be able to downregulate. Is there a way to downregulate within 3-4 minutes that the body and the brain is in a state of safe mode? So that's what we want to do. So we'll start off with a small breath hold exercise and then I'll go on to the breathe light exercise. So small breath hold, whenever you're ready. Take a normal breath in through your nose, out through your nose and pinch your nose and hold for 5 seconds. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Let go, but breathe in through your nose and breathe normal now for about 10, 15 seconds. When your mind is agitated, if your breathing is labored, if you're feeling wheezing or coughing, this is your emergency exercise. The more stressed the mind, hold your breath after an exhalation. Again, take a normal breath in through your nose and out through your nose and pinch your nose and hold for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Let go, but breathe in through your nose and to breathe normal for 10 to 15 seconds. So you're breathing normal for 10 to 15 seconds. And again, take a normal breath in through your nose and out through your nose and pinch your nose and hold. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Let go, breathe in through your nose and to breathe normal for 10 to 15 seconds. And again, take a normal breath in through your nose and out through your nose and pinch your nose and hold. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Let go, breathe in through your nose and to breathe normal for 10 to 15 seconds. And again, take a normal breath in through your nose and out through your nose and pinch your nose and hold. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Let go, breathe in through your nose and breathe normal for 10 to 15 seconds. This is quite a famous paper. We've come across this many years ago. I wrote it in one of my books back in 2010. And I recently heard about this paper through a neuroscientist, Dr. Andrew Huberman. And he cited the paper and he referenced the last sentence in the introduction here. The most powerful effects of elevated CO2, so that's what we're doing now, may probably be explained by a direct effect on the neuronal membrane. And this is the key sentence. The brain, by regulating breathing, controls its own excitability. We have 80 billion brain cells, and each brain cell is communicating with 15,000 other brain cells. And we don't want the brain cells firing all over the place, because then we're out of whack. So by holding our breath, especially when we're in an extreme stress, holding the breath for a few seconds, letting go, we're increasing blood flow to the brain, and this is having a calming effect physiologically. The next time you're in stress, and of course little things happen, that's the way it is. Things happen. How do we react to them? And I learned these tools. I was lucky enough about 25 years ago. I'm almost 50 years of age, and I will genuinely say, you will use them. I won't say every day. Yeah, you could, but certainly many, many times a week, I use them because things happen and I want to be able to self-regulate. And I did go to business school. I have a business degree before I went into breathing, but I was never taught how to deal with stress. And many of you here, you're probably working in high-stressed environments. Have you been trained how to concentrate, how to hold your attention, and how to self-regulate? That's very, very important. So let's go again. Take a normal breath in through your nose and out through your nose, and pinch your nose and hold for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Let go, breathe in through your nose, and to breathe normal for 10 to 15 seconds. And again, take a normal breath in through your nose and out through your nose, and pinch your nose and hold 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Let go, breathe in through your nose, and to breathe normal for 10 to 15 seconds. Okay. Now I'm going to go on to a slightly different exercise before I go to the breathe light. So that last exercise is your emergency exercise. And by the way, we do have a free app, which is called Oxygen Advantage. And if you download the app, it contains about 90 different breathing instruction. But basically, if you put in what you want to get out of it, if you have asthma, or if you have high blood pressure, or if you have anxiety, or if you want to improve mental focus or whatever, it's free anyway, and it will give you exercises. And it's basically an app to all of the info, not all the information in my head, but the information in my head is put into an app. So you might find it useful. So the next exercise is to open up the nose. Don't do this exercise if you have anxiety or panic disorder, or if you are pregnant, or if you've got serious medical conditions. If you wanted to give it a go very gently, but don't do it if you're pregnant, full stop. So to open up the nose, you hold your breath. Now you can test how open or closed your nose is, if I can find my phone, by simply using your phone. So give the screen a rub. You get the screen, put it underneath your nose, and breathe onto it. And then look at the halo that's left on the screen. And that will tell you, is it the left side of the nose, or is it the right side of the nose, or how much is your nose congested? Always remember this when it comes to the nose. If your nose is stuffy, you don't just have a stuffy nose, you have a problem with your sleep. 2 to 3 times more likely to have sleep problems. So think of the child with the stuffy nose. That child doesn't just have a stuffy nose. They're more likely to have a sleep problem. And if they have a sleep problem, they're more likely to have academic problems. Okay, you might say, well, my child is a grade A student. I was a grade A student up until the age of 11. And 12, 13, 14, I went from the top of the class right down to the bottom of the class. Why? I had undiagnosed sleep apnea. How many kids does this affect? Sleep disorder breathing affects about 15% of children, 1 in 7. So it's fairly common. So let's go again. Open up the nose. You do it this way. Take a normal breath in through your nose, out through your nose, pinch your nose and hold your nose, and just gently nod your head up and down, holding your breath, and see if it works. So don't kind of say, oh, it's not for me, right? No, give it a go, right? Because this is the exercise that got me into breathing. And then I'll show you another exercise that got me into breathing. So let's give it a go. Take a normal breath in through your nose, out through your nose, pinch your nose and hold, and just gently nod your head up and down as you hold your breath. And then let go and breathe in through your nose. It's known since 1923 that when you hold your breath, you open up your nose, even if you have hay fever. So this will temporarily decongest the nose. And the wonderful thing about the human nose is that the more you use it, the better it works. So you're just breathing through your nose now for about a minute or so, and we do it again. So children with head colds, show them how to decongest the nose. Remember that all children who breathe through an open mouth will develop crooked teeth. All children who breathe through an open mouth develop crooked teeth. Why? Because the tongue isn't resting up in the roof of the mouth. And it's the pressure exerted by the tongue as it rests in the roof of the mouth, which develops the maxilla, which is the top jaw. And the shape of the maxilla should be wide and U-shaped. I didn't have straight teeth. I used to have crooked teeth, of course. So I went to a dentist in California called Dr. William Hang. So he's since retired, but he was based in Agora Hills, and he widened my jaws because my jaws were too narrow because I had my mouth open as a kid. Nobody told me, Patrick, breathe through the nose. So let's go again. Take a normal breath, in through your nose, out through your nose, and pinch your nose and hold. And just gently nod your head up and down as you're holding your breath. Just kind of relax into your body. You're just relaxing into the body as you're holding your breath, just relaxing into the body, and then let go, but breathe in through your nose. And I'm not sure if you're able to use the chat. I don't know how this works in terms of when there's a group of people like this, but after about 4 or 5 attempts, just write in, is your nose, is it more stuffy? Is it less stuffy? Is it the same? Simple as that. Or is your nose more open, less open, or the same? But don't do it yet. I have to do it about 4 or 5 times. So just give me a little bit of a wait. So again, take a normal breath in through your nose and out through your nose, and pinch your nose and hold. And just gently nod your head up and down as you hold your breath. You're just gently nodding your head up and down as you hold your breath. And continue holding your breath as you nod your head up and down. So you're continuing to hold your breath as you nod your head up and down. And then you let go, but you breathe in through your nose, and then you breathe normal. So that was number 3. So we're going to see, can we open up the nose 5 times by doing 5 reps. So now just breathe in and out through your nose. And of course, remember, where should your tongue be? Your tongue should be resting up in the palate. Mouth breathers don't have their tongue in the palate. So the human nose is actually fairly extensive in the human face. So this is a close-up of the human nose. So most people, we think that the nose is this thing here, you know. You look at the mirror and you're saying, okay, this is my nose here. That's only the initial part of the nose. Whereas your nose goes way back within the skull. You see this here? So I would say, in terms of breathing, it's the only organ that does anything to help filter and moisten and everything, the air coming in. So to get an idea of the extent of your nose, put your tongue into the roof of your mouth, drag your tongue along the roof of the mouth until you feel the soft palate like this. Can you feel the soft palate? Can you feel this here? The roof of the mouth is the floor of your nose. So let's go again. Take a normal breath. In through your nose and out through your nose, and pinch your nose and hold. Gently nod your head up and down as you hold your breath. And then to let go, but to breathe in through the nose. So now you're letting go, you're breathing in through the nose. And I have a visitor, of course, who's come in. So even with a dog, you will see, you won't come near me. So with a dog, with all animals, they will have their mouths closed pretty much all of the time. So humans are the species that have their mouth open more of the time than any other species on Earth. A dog only on a hot day will have the mouth open to self-regulate temperature for thermoregulation. But other than that, the dog will have its mouth closed. So our dog has its mouth closed. He came into the office here. So let's do it one more time. Take a normal breath in through your nose and out through your nose, and pinch your nose and hold your nose, and just gently nod your head up and down as you hold your breath. So you're just gently nodding. How are we breathing when we pinch your nose? Not to breathe when you pinch your nose. So the whole thing is you open up your nose by simply holding your breath. So you're pinching your nose to stop breathing. when you stop breathing, your nose opens up. If you breathe harder and faster, your nose congests. So let's go again, just in case I didn't explain it properly. Take a normal breath in through your nose, out through your nose, pinch your nose and hold your nose to stop breathing. And then gently nod your head up and down as you hold your breath. And relax into it. And keep holding your breath. So can you hold your breath for 30 seconds? Can you hold your breath for 45 seconds? Can you hold your breath for a minute? And if you can hold your breath for over 30 seconds, you will start to notice that your nose is opening up. So if you have a head cold, if you have a stuffy nose, practice this. We aren't breathing, we are holding our breath, correct? Less stuffy. Okay, so will you just put it into chat, because we tried it 5 times and hopefully you understood it. And just, is your nose, is it more open? Is it less open? Is it the same? It's about the same for Judy. Okay, so I'll wait a moment. And now what we're going to do is go on to the breathe light exercise. So in terms of, is there a way to improve your blood circulation? Is there a way to improve? The book Breath by James Nestor is pretty much what we have been working with for 21 years. So I started teaching breathing techniques in 2002. And I wrote a book as well. I've written 10 books on breathing, but one book is called The Oxygen Advantage, which is fairly popular. And then James Nestor brought out Breath, it's a wonderful book. So there's some wonderful books out there about breathing, and the really great books though, they talk about the nose. So always make sure, what's the foundation? Get the foundation right, breathing in and out through the nose. So always breathe out and hold your nose. Don't breathe in and hold your nose. So take a normal breath in through your nose, out through your nose, and pinch your nose and hold, and gently nod your head up and down. Okay, so let's breathe less air. What happens when you breathe less air? Can you change your state by breathing less air? So I would like you to have one hand on your chest and one hand just above your navel. Sorry, their courier has just arrived. So one hand on your chest, one hand just on your navel, and just tune in on your breathing patterns. So tune in on your breathing patterns. And I would like you to put a little bit of pressure with your hands against your chest and tummy. So put a little bit of pressure with your hands against your chest and tummy. This one. So you have your hand against your chest and tummy, and just gentle pressure with your hands against your chest and tummy. And now what I would like you to do is to take a very soft and slow, gentle breath in through your nose, and a relaxed and a slow and a gentle breath out. So what happens when you breathe less air? Because everybody is telling you to breathe more air. So let's do the opposite. Breathe less air and see. This got me into breathing with the other exercise, the nose unblocking. So these would be my 2 favorite exercises. So let's take a very soft and slow, gentle breath in. Don't worry about whether you're breathing low or high at the moment. Doesn't matter. I just want you to feel air hunger. How do you achieve that? Take a soft, gentle breath in through your nose, and a relaxed and slow and a gentle breath out. And a very, very soft and slow, gentle breath in through your nose. And a relaxed and a slow and a gentle breath out. So what's happening when you do this exercise? If you take a really soft and slow, gentle breath in, almost to the point that you are hardly breathing in air, and then you're having a really relaxed and a slow and a gentle breath out. And as you breathe less air, carbon dioxide accumulates in the lungs and blood. And as carbon dioxide increases in the blood, it helps to stimulate your vagus nerve. So how do you know if you've activated the rest or digest response? If you activate the rest response, you feel sleepy. If you activate the digest response, you've got increased watery saliva in the mouth. If you're stressed, your mouth goes dry because your body isn't ready for the digestion of food. So the plant-based food that you're eating, if you have a dry mouth, you know that your body isn't ready for it. But if you have increased watery saliva in the mouth, And if you are feeling a bit sleepy, you know that you've activated that rest digest response. So the opposite to the stress response. So can you activate this in 3 minutes? Let's see. And also then you can put it into chat. If you've got less saliva in the mouth, more saliva in the mouth, or the same. So that's the key. Check in on the saliva in the mouth. When your body is ready for the digestion of food, your body produces more saliva to help with the breakdown of the food. Make sense? Yeah. Can we produce more? So can we activate that digest response? Take a very soft and slow, gentle breath in through your nose, almost as if you were hardly breathing at all. And a relaxed and a slow and a gentle breath out. And a very, very soft and slow, gentle breath in. And a relaxed and a slow and a gentle breath out. So as you're breathing in, not to take the full amount of the breath, only think about 3/4 of the breath, maybe about 70% of the breath. 70% of the breath in. Really soft and slow. There's no breath holding with this one. And then you're having a really relaxed and a slow and gentle breath out. So with this exercise here, you continue to breathe, but you breathe less air. So I would like you to continue to breathe and to breathe less air to the point of air hunger. Taking a really soft and a slow and a gentle breath in, and a relaxed and a slow and a gentle breath out. And a very, very soft, slow, gentle breath in, and a relaxed and a slow and a gentle breath out. Softening the breath, quietening the breath, calming the breath. So I would like you to feel air hunger. I would like you to feel that you're not getting enough air. I would like you to feel that you would like to take in a deeper breath. So what happens when you breathe less air? What happens when you really slow down the speed of the air that's coming into the nose? And then you're having a really relaxed and a slow and a gentle breath out. Your body is telling the brain that everything is okay. Your brain then is sending signals of calm to the body. So can we self-regulate our states? Not by breathing the full big breaths. And I will talk about that in a moment. Where did it come out of? Who gave that idea? You know, what's it about? What's it about? Breathe, take a deep breath, take a full breath, bring more air into your lungs. What does that do? Reduces oxygen delivery to the tissues. The harder you breathe, the more air you breathe into your body, the more your blood vessels constrict. You know this. Because there have been times in the past that you felt, I'm stressed. I'm going to take a few deep breaths for myself, and you feel lightheaded. So the more air you breathe, the harder and faster you breathe, your blood vessels constrict. We're doing the opposite. Take a really soft and slow, gentle breath in. Can you breathe in almost so slow, so soft breath in, and a relaxed and a slow and a gentle breath out? Can you breathe this way to the point that you feel that you're not getting enough air? And the feeling that you're not getting enough air is telling you that carbon dioxide is increased in the blood, because carbon dioxide is the primary stimulus to breathe. And as carbon dioxide increases in the blood, your blood vessels dilate. Okay, take a rest. Take a rest. How many of you felt air hunger if you put it into the chat? So did you feel air hunger? If you feel air hunger, you're on the right track. And then if you felt the air hunger, a little air hunger, I would like you to feel a tolerable air hunger would be wonderful. How do you achieve a tolerable air hunger? Really soften and slow down the speed of your breathing so that your breathing is less now than what it was before you started. Me wanted to immediately breathe in again. So you don't want to have too much of air hunger either. So this is a little bit like Goldilocks and the 3 bears with the porridge. Not too cold, not too hot, but just relaxed, just relaxed. So it takes a bit of practice. So if you do it with relaxation, it's better. You know, think about when you go into relaxation, what happens? Everything slows down. Well, we're deliberately slowing down everything to induce that relaxation response. Do any of you feel any change in the saliva in the mouth? You have less saliva? You have more saliva? Is it the same? Not necessarily to put in a hold, Judy. So even as you breathe, if you've done myofunctional therapy exercises, It fits lovely with this, by the way. So you understand already about breathing and sleep, correct tongue resting posture, functioning of the tongue. So the two go hand in hand. We work quite a bit with myofunctional therapy with Mark Moller and Joy Moller, Samantha Moller. So going to take a rest for about a minute from this exercise, and then we start off again. And think about what's this exercise doing. This activates the rest and digest response. This improves your blood circulation. People with poor breathing are more prone to cold hands and cold feet. Always remember that. Do you have cold hands and cold feet? People with poor breathing are more prone to brain fog. People with poor breathing, people with exhaustion syndrome are more prone to poor breathing. So you think of all of the people who are hitting 40 years of age and they're in corporations, and the corporations is all about targets and driving them, and hyperventilation and exhaustion syndrome. It's very easy to go into exhaustion syndrome. So chronic stress is one of the most common diagnoses in Sweden, most commonly in the form of exhaustion syndrome. And the majority of this syndrome also have disturbed breathing, hyperventilate. They breathe a little bit too fast and too hard. And the aim of this study was to investigate the association between hyperventilation and exhaustion syndrome. So they found that the patients reported significantly higher levels of hyperventilation, the people with exhaustion syndrome. So they were taught a way to help with their hyperventilation, and it led to significant reductions in exhaustion scores and scores of depression and anxiety. So your breathing, think about the connection between the breathing and the mind and our sleep. We can't isolate one from the other. For me, breathing is the big one because we have some degree of control over it once we know what we're doing. If we think that it's good to be hyperventilating, that there's more oxygen going around the body and being delivered, think again. Hyperventilation, it's a stressor. But for some people, we don't want to be stressing them. And nor do we want to be stressing people too much. There's a time when a good stress becomes a bad stress. So I would say to you is don't start off with the stressor exercises. Start activating the rest and digest response. You have these tools for the rest of your life. We've done breathe light, and then we're going to breathe slow and then breathe low. So moving on to that. So the connection between our breathing and the mind. If your breathing is a little bit faster and harder and upper chest, that's going to cause agitation of the mind. But if your mind is stressed, you're thinking a lot and you're worrying and you're anxious, that's going to impact your breathing because it's going to make your breathing harder and faster. So you see there's a two-way communication here. But what about your sleep? If your mind is active and you can't switch off and you have overstimulation of the mind, all of those thoughts going into the mind, so many tasks to do, somebody did something, there's a problem out there, thinking, can't fall asleep. Problem. Insomnia, overstimulation of the mind. And never before, of course, have we had as much information. And so much of it is absolutely useless, but that's another story. So the sleep, if you have really poor quality sleep, how do you feel when you wake up in the morning? Agitated mind. So poor breathing affects the mind. Agitated mind affects breathing. Agitated mind affects sleep. Poor sleep quality affects the mind. Breathing affects your sleep. How you breathe during the day is going to influence your sleep quality. And your sleep quality is going to influence your breathing. So we can't look at breathing and the mind and sleep in isolation. And when we want to talk about breathing, we want to be targeting the breathing from a biochemical point of view. Improve blood flow, oxygen delivery, target the diaphragm. Breathe, how to breathe during sleep, during rest, during exercise. So let's go again now with our light breathing. So I would like you, so you see, I'm just looking at if some of you had any change in more saliva. What about the overall feeling of coldness in the body? I'm just wondering, Judy, is that when you're doing the exercise? I wear tape on my mouth at night. Wow. Great. So we've been taping for 25 years, actually. I've been having much problems with cold feet. I also have been disturbed breathing. need tape most of the time to remember breathe through the nose. And I'll show you a tape that we use pretty much all the time feeling cold. See if you can feel warmer. Just see, you know, are you able to improve the circulation in your hands? How about doing it this way? Put your finger underneath your nose as follows. Take a very soft, slow, gentle breath in through your nose. And a relaxed and a slow and a gentle breath out through your nose. So as you're breathing out from your nose to your finger, can you slow the speed of air onto your finger? Can you take a really soft and slow, gentle breath in through your nose? And a relaxed and a slow and a gentle breath out. That you're breathing so softly onto your finger that if your finger was a feather, the feather wouldn't move. You're taking a really soft and slow, gentle breath coming into your nose. And a relaxed and a slow and a gentle breath out. If your finger is a feather, can you breathe so lightly onto your finger so that the feather doesn't move? Really soft and slow, gentle breath in. And a relaxed and a slow and a gentle breath out. And a very, very soft and slow, gentle breath in. And a relaxed and a slow and a gentle breath out. You're softening your breathing. You're slowing down your breathing. And I need you to get that air hunger. And the other thing about air hunger is your mind is going to be anchored onto the breath. So there's less tendency for the mind to wander. And if you can hold your attention on your breathing, you're training the brain then to be focused. We can access flow states more readily. And I'll talk about flow in a second, because I think flow is very important for business. I think flow is very important for every walk of life, even giving our simple talk here. I want to put the critical mind aside. I want the talk to come out. And by putting the critical mind aside and by shifting attention in my mind, I can more readily access flow states where my attention is moving simultaneously with time. But let's continue with this. You have your finger underneath your nose. You're taking a really soft and slow, gentle breath in through your nose. And a relaxed and a slow and a gentle breath out. Air hunger is a sensation that you're not getting enough air. So air hunger is a sensation that you would like to take in more air. Air hunger is telling you that carbon dioxide is increased in the blood. How do you increase carbon dioxide in the blood? Breathe about 30% less air into your body. So what happens when you underbreathe? Just as people go on a diet, they go on a food diet, they undereat for a period of time. It's good for the body. Underbreathing for a period of time is also good for the body. So you don't need to be doing this all the time. Not that you would be, but this is underbreathing for a period of time to cause the body to make adaptations that your breathing is becoming lighter then. And that has benefits in exercise and benefits in sleep, but also in benefits in terms of your state of calm, your state of mind. So we are underbreathing here. Instead of taking the normal breath in through your nose, you're taking a very soft breath in through your nose. And then you're having a really relaxed and a slow and a gentle breath out, prolonging and a gentle, slow, relaxed exhalation. And then a very soft and slow, gentle breath in. And a relaxed and a slow and a gentle breath out. So I would like you to continue under breathing to the point that you have air hunger. Can you breathe in a way that you feel that you're not getting enough air? Not to feel stressed. If you feel stressed, take a rest. If the air hunger is too much, you take a rest. Okay, take a rest from that, everybody. How many of you feel air hunger? Do you understand what we're looking to achieve here? I need you to feel that you're not getting enough air. I need you to feel that you would like to take in a deeper breath. So what does it mean? It means that carbon dioxide is increased in the blood. And as carbon dioxide increases in the blood, what's it doing to blood flow to the brain? Well, all you have to do is put into Google, carbon dioxide, vasodilator. So vasodilator or vasoconstrictor. But if you put in vasodilator, you will see the responses to carbon dioxide in humans. So this is published in the Journal of Physiology. I just put it into Google there. So it's in PubMed. I'm scrolling down because I've seen this one anyway. So within the autoregulatory range, the effect of CO2 during rest is currently estimated that there is a 2 to 3% decrease in blood flow in the brain per 1 millimeter decrease in the arterial partial pressure of carbon dioxide. So in other words, when there's a decrease of carbon dioxide in the blood, there's a decrease of blood flow in the brain, blood supply to the brain. By contrast, blood flow to the brain increases by 3 to 4% per millimeter increase of carbon dioxide of arterial CO2. When you did the breathe light exercise, I would expect it to increase your CO2 by about 2 to 3%. And this is going to increase blood flow to the brain by 6 to 8%. So you can improve blood flow to the brain by 6 to 8% by breathing a little bit less air to the point of air hunger. A little bit less air to the point of air hunger. Now, the more you practice gently doing this, especially, this is your down regulation. So I'm not sure how many of you got it though, because I don't see too many comments. But in terms of, did you have air hunger? Do you feel more alert? Do you feel more sleepy? You might feel a bit more sleepy now because it's activating the digest response. Sorry, it's activating the rest response. So remember, we were talking about breathing and your ability to self-regulate. And it comes back to, we said, if you want to activate the stress response, you could hyperventilate, or you could do physical exercise. Better to do it with your mouth closed, or you could do a long breath hold. They're stressors. But to activate the rest and digest response, breathe light, breathe slow, and breathe low. So now what I'm going to do is we're going to breathe slow. And I always find this is quite interesting. And many of our ancestors would have been breathing slow because, for example, if you say a yoga mantra, it slows down your breathing. And you'll find it in quite a few religions, you know, in terms of faith, that the prayers that people say, it helps them to slow down their breathing. So they did a study here. This is the effect of the rosary prayer. So what happens if you said the rosary, because it's a prayer from the Catholic faith, or yoga mantras on your breathing, on the autonomic cardiovascular rhythm. So autonomic is automatic. Normally you don't have any control or influence, but with breathing you do. So they looked at when people were saying a prayer or when they were doing their mantra, that it slowed down the respiratory rate to 6 breaths per minute. 6 breaths per minute is the ideal respiratory rate to practice. And this helps to bring the autonomic nervous system into balance. Now, not all of you may not be all able to slow down your breathing to 6 breaths per minute, but in terms of heart rate variability, which is an objective measure of vagal tone, you can influence that by slowing down your breathing. The name of the app again is Oxygen Advantage. So what I would like you to do is to have one hand on your chest and one hand just above your navel. So you just have one hand on your chest, one hand just above your navel. You're tuning into your breathing. And I would like you to breathe in for 4 seconds in and 6 seconds out. Silent breaths through the nose. Remember, what's the mouth for? Eating, drinking, speaking. What's your nose for? Smelling, breathing. And 32 other functions. And if you're wondering, well, how on earth does the nose have 32 other functions? I put together a document because I was wondering. I knew there was quite a few of them. There was an ENT from the United States back in the 1970s called Dr. Morris Cottle, Cottle, and he said that the human nose is responsible for 30 functions in the human body. And then I was wondering, well, what exactly are those functions? So a few weeks ago, I started to put a list of them together to collect. And the thing about breathing is it's very important to bring the science to breathing. You know, a lot of people talk about breathing and they don't talk about the science. They talk some of them, I was going to say a load of nonsense, but yeah, they say breathing this, breathing that. Let's think about breathing from the science point of view. What's it really doing? You know, so I won't go through this, of course, but improve visual awareness, the effect of breathing through the nose on our behavior, when you're going into the supermarket and the supermarket is pumping out this scent smell, the reason that they're pumping it out is to get you to spend more money. So the smells that we smell influence our behavior. Vocal effort. Your nose protects the vocal cords. Your voice is less breathy, less mucus, less narrowing of the airways. Relaxation when you breathe out through your nose. If you breathe it out through your mouth, fast. Breathe out through your nose, slow. Slow exhalation, relaxation. So this, I think, is interesting. The smell and partner choice. So if we have very similar genetic makeup, we could be related, and in-breathing would increase the risk of unfavorable genes passed down from one generation to the other. So in relation to its influence on partner selection, scientists discovered that the signals are picked up via smell, so otherwise referred to as olfaction. The influence of body odor in mate selection was confirmed in experiments back in the 1970s, and more recent experiments, this is a 2000 paper, findings show that women prefer the odor of men who are dissimilar to themselves. So they did the study on women. They had them smell t-shirts of men, and the women chose men who were dissimilar to themselves. So it could be in terms of reducing the risk of in-breathing. Improve recruitment of the diaphragm, nose breathing, increases oxygen uptake in the blood, improves oxygenation during sleep. You have deeper quality sleep breathing through your nose. 50% of you here, 50 of you, wake up with a dry mouth in the morning. You're not likely to wake up feeling refreshed. The sound of your voice is influenced by nasal breathing. Cognitive function. If your nose is stuffy, it impacts your cognitive function. There's a few studies on this. So this study here, they looked at 100 people. 50 of them had stuffy noses. And the people with nasal congestion were found to have significantly more cognitive dysfunction and fatigue. So cognitive function. I think that's very important. Think about the kids in school with their stuffy noses. Smelling, tasting, production of nitric oxide, improved blood flow in the lungs, defense against inhaled pathogens, chemical inactivation of the pathogens, maintaining elasticity of the lungs, important in the control of asthma. How many people with asthma breathe through their nose? Redistribution of blood throughout the lungs, we'd say that one. Important in the control of allergic rhinitis. Warming. Warms the incoming air, humidifies the incoming air, but it conserves water. The nose, by breathing out through it, traps moisture and heat from the exhale breath. Nasal dilation, the more you breathe through your nose, the better it opens up for you. Breathing through the nose helps to decongest the nose. And also during physical exercise, breathe through your nose. Helps to prevent exercise-induced asthma. Better utilization of oxygen during exercise, better recovery. Reduce ventilation, you're less likely to gas out too soon, and the development of the face. So that's the nose. So I think in terms of cognition, I'm just going to put that paper into PubMed, the cognitive functions. So this was a 2015 paper I'll put into chat. You know, could breathing through your nose make you smarter? Well, of course. But you have to have your mouth closed during sleep. So patients with chronic rhinosinusitis, stuffy nose, report significantly more cognitive dysfunction and fatigue. I was a mouth breather, stuffy nose all the time, and it wreaked havoc on my academic ability. Cognitive dysfunction associated with pain and quality of life in chronic rhinosinusitis. Would you think that cognitive dysfunction? I'm sorry, that's slightly different here. But yeah, pain is influenced as well by our breathing. And I'm just going to put that into, so you have that paper there we were talking about. Okay, so the next exercise, yeah, so what I'm going to do is, what do you do if you're feeling stressed? Okay, something is happening. Somebody is giving out. So we'll say that somebody is over here, and they're giving out to me, and I'm looking at them, and their mouth is opening and closing, and there's some noise coming out of their mouths. But I don't want to surrender all of my attention to the person. I'm going to listen to them, It's not that I'm going to hide away. I'm seeing it. I hear the noise coming out of their mouth. The mouth is open, but I bring my attention inwards onto my breath. There's nothing woo-woo about this, because it's very important to be able to bring your attention inwards, because you have a sense of calm there. And not just about bringing your attention inwards. How do you tell the brain that the body is safe? Focus on slowing down the speed of the exhalation, and even 30 seconds of it. So the guy is here giving out. I'm listening. I have my attention on the inhalation, and I'm having a really relaxed and a slow and a gentle exhalation. And that really soft and slow, gentle exhalation, my body is telling the brain, it's okay, it's okay. As opposed to somebody that's giving out, and I'm going into a state of hyperventilation. And now there's reduced blood flow going to my brain. The brain now is all over the place. I can't think straight. And that's why special forces do these exercises. I work with people. So, for example, I work with snipers. I train, these are elite military, they're actually police in a European police department. And I've been brought in to teach them how to self-regulate. So I show them how to upregulate if they need to, but also how to downregulate. And why is it very important, even say for police officers, that they have the tools to self-regulate? It's because if police officers are too stressed, they make mistakes. And if they make mistakes, they're more likely to use lethal force. So stress is not good in the police. So if you feel like, say, for example, our police forces have too much going on, they're feeling too stressed, it's not good. These guys and girls, women, need to be taught how to self-regulate. So whenever there's a bit of stress, you can have an immediate, bring your attention onto the breath, soft breath in, and a really slow and gentle exhalation. And if you can prolong that exhalation, you can't get into a Zoom meeting. There's an example. You want to get into your website, you can't log in. Soft breath in and a really slow, gentle exhalation. And use that information to tell the brain that everything is okay. Okay, so how about sleep? The email, yeah, it's normal. If you download the app, it does ask for an email address. It's not to charge you or anything. It's just to give you a daily plan. So the daily plan is specific for you. The app is tailored. So how about somebody with obstructive sleep apnea? Does mouth breathing make things worse? And if somebody has obstructive sleep apnea, could it increase the risk of depression? So this is a paper published by the Laryngoscope from the American Laryngological Rhinological Society. They looked at 95 individuals from 2017 to 2019, and they had established sleep apnea, and patients with mouth breathing were associated with increased obstructive sleep apnea. So if you have your mouth open, doesn't have sleep. So how do we get the mouth closed? Healthy subjects preferentially breathe almost exclusively via the nasal route with the purpose of heating air, conditioning, and cleaning the inspired air. Nasal breathing is essential in maintaining normal craniofacial growth. We spoke about this with children. We said if the child has the mouth open, they're more likely to have crooked teeth. Dental occlusion, due to its interaction with mastication, chewing, and swallowing. On the other hand, mouth breathing can result in craniofacial maldevelopment and dental malocclusion, which is crooked teeth. So you think of all of the children in the United States and in the Western world and in Europe here, is it 75%? Is it 60%? It's pretty high anyway. They've got overcrowding of teeth. They've got crooked teeth. So they can also experience longer facial structures, and older people are more likely to breathe through an open mouth during sleep as well. So children and older people. I was a mouth breather waking up with a dry mouth in the morning, and I would be shattered. And then you're going into school. So 95 individuals, and of them, 11 of them had their mouth open all the time, but 49 of them switched from mouth to nose breathing. So 60 out of the 95 either had their mouth open all of the time or partial amount of the time. But the people with their mouth open, their blood oxygen saturation dropped severely. and their sleep apnea was more severe. So getting the mouth closed during sleep is really, really important. Now, there's a few options for you. What we traditionally used was 3M 1-inch micropore tape. So I'm going to give you a few different options. 3M 1-inch micropore tape. And there's another option, Simply Breathe. Simply Breathe. And there's another option, which is my own option, is called Myotape, and I'll just do a demonstration. So you have three options anyway. And this one here, 3M 1-inch micropore tape, is the cheapest. I think it's about $3, maybe. Simply Breathe, I think it's about $25 for 1 month or thereabouts, I'm not sure. And Myotape is $25 for 3 months or 90 strips. So the reason that I brought out Myotape was for children, but also for adults with anxiety. So basically the Myotape is as follows. So it is my own product, so I'm going to make full disclosure. The only reason that we brought it out was because how could we teach children to breathe through their noses? And all of the exercise for children are free as well. So you'll find them. So this is the tape here. There's 90 strips in it. And this is a bit different to the tape that you would normally see. So you get the tape, to dry your lips. It actually works with a beard as well. There's one for beards. 40% of men now wear beards, so it's fashion. Stretch the tape about 30%. Press against your lips. You have to stretch it first. See, it's elasticated cotton. And now it's pulling my lips together. So this will keep my mouth closed during sleep. No risk. And also with children during the day, when the children are on iPhone, and if they have them at home, we use the tape because they're on their iPhone, their mom's iPhone or dad's iPhone. They have them at home, but the tape tells them to breathe through the nose because they can feel it. They can feel the elastic tension of the tape pulling the lips together. So that's the tape. And you'll find that. I'll just put the link into the chat. It's called myotape.com. Myotape.com. I think you might get a discount if you put in Myo10, but don't hold me to that. So if it looks for a promo code, Myo10, you should get a 10% discount, but I'm not totally, because I didn't prepare anything. So coming full circle, breathing through the nose during rest, breathing through the nose during sleep. Let's even just look at snoring for a moment. Okay, there's two kind of main forms of snoring. There's snoring through the mouth, and it goes like this. So that's snoring through your mouth. I would like you to make the sound of a snore through your mouth. So again, it goes like this. Now I would like you to close your mouth and try and snore with your mouth closed. Try and snore through your mouth, with your mouth closed. You can't. Mouth snoring stops once you get your mouth closed. So if your partner is there, then if they stop breathing, which is it's not good, that could be obstructive sleep apnea. But the only way to find out is by doing a sleep study. And the problem with obstructive sleep apnea drives us into that increased stress response. And it's not good for many, many diseases are related to poor sleep quality. So getting the mouth closed, I wish they didn't change from beige to blue. No, we've changed back again, Judy. But we went with customer feedback. It was orange. People didn't like that. We went beige. They didn't like the beige. We went blue. Didn't like the blue. So now we're back to beige. So next one is nose snoring, and it goes like this. So now what I would like you to do is to breathe very softly through your nose. Take a soft breath in through your nose and a relaxed and slow, gentle breath out through your nose. And a soft breath in through your nose and a relaxed and slow, gentle breath out through your nose. So as you breathe softly through your nose, can you snore through your nose? And you'll find it's more difficult. So is there a link between how we breathe during the day and how we breathe during sleep? And the answer is yes. And this was the basis on the paper that I wrote with 2 ear, nose, and throat doctors and breathing re-education and the phenotypes of obstructive sleep apnea. So I'm just going to pull this up. You'll find this paper anyway in PubMed. So it's published in a peer-reviewed journal. And you can significantly help your sleep by changing your breathing patterns. And nose breathing is the key. So what is it about? Well, we want to establish full-time nasal breathing during wakefulness and sleep. We want to correct the resting posture of the tongue. We want to be slowing down the respiratory rate, which we're going to do now. We're also using breath holds as a means of establishing chemosensitivity to carbon dioxide and restoring diaphragm function. And if we do that, that will help with sleep apnea. So when we think about breathing, it's not just about breathing from one different dimension. Breathing is multidimensional. Now, we went through a few of them here today. We've already gone through a few of the exercises. So let's now slow down our breathing to 6 breaths per minute. So I was going to do this, but obviously I got distracted. So one hand on your chest, one hand just above your navel. I'm going to have you breathe in for 4 seconds and out for 6 seconds, but it should be through the nose and it should be silent. So nose and silent. And if you have your hands either side of your lower ribs. So as you breathe in, you're feeling your ribs move out. And as you breathe out, you're feeling your ribs moving in. So you could do it probably sitting is best, or you could do it standing. It's up to yourself. So you're breathing in for 4 seconds and you're breathing out for 6 seconds. So you're breathing in, 2, 3, 4, out, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, in, 3, 4, out, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, in, 2, 3, 4, out, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, in, 2, 3, 4, out, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, in, 2, 3, 4, out, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, in, 2, 3, 4, out, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, in, 2, 3, 4, out, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So continue doing that. So breathing in for about 4 seconds and breathing out for 6 seconds. So you're breathing through your nose, but your breathing is silent. And as you breathe in, your ribs are gently moving out. And as you breathe out, your ribs are gently moving in. So as you breathe in, your ribs are gently moving out. And as you breathe out, your ribs are gently moving in. So as you're breathing in, your ribs are gently moving out. And as you breathe out, your ribs are gently moving in. As you breathe in, your ribs gently move out. And as you breathe out, your ribs are gently moving in. Now, this exercise is different to what we did earlier on. So I don't want to, I'll try not to confuse you. So earlier on, I kind of break them into these words here. Breathe light. This is when I had you breathe less air. So you were breathing less air. You were under breathing. And you knew that you were doing this when you felt air hunger. And of course, air hunger is signifying that carbon dioxide is increased in the blood. And this helps to dilate your blood vessels. So it helps to open up your blood vessels. It also helps to stimulate the vagus nerve. So you can increase blood flow to the brain and increase blood flow to the heart, but also you're increasing oxygen delivery. It's a wonderful exercise. And with this, don't time it. Just take a soft breath in through your nose and a really relaxed and slow, gentle breath out. And don't worry about whether you are breathing high or low. Soft breath in and a relaxed and slow, gentle breath out. And it's a wonderful exercise. If you want to down-regulate before sleep, practice 10 to 15 minutes before sleep. but it would be also useful as a meditation. You're in a relaxed environment. So this is what I do before I do public presentations. Now, I didn't do it today, but I've got a training tomorrow, and they're full days of trainings with large groups of people. And I will self-regulate before I go out and talk, because I want to put the critical mind aside. And the way I do it is I want to down-regulate first. So I want to activate the rest and digest first. And I use this. I do 10, 15 minutes, and especially if I'm jet lagged. I bring my attention inwards, close my eyes, tension onto the breath, really soft breath in through the nose, and a relaxed and slow, gentle breath out. And by doing this, my body is telling the brain that everything is okay. And I'm not going to be overthinking. Because you can imagine a lot of people who are going out to do a public event, they become so wound up and they're overthinking. And it's almost as if the situation has scared the life out of them. Because if they are breathing faster and harder and irregular prior to giving the talk, it's putting them into that fight or flight response. And that's why so many people in the past, they used to use a paper bag because they were hyperventilating. They were losing too much carbon dioxide. There was reduced blood flow to go into the brain, reduced oxygen going to the brain. So it comes back to that well-known paper back in 1988, that the brain, by regulating breathing, regulates its own excitability. Can we influence our own brain cell excitability by changing the breath? And the answer is yes, carbon dioxide. So carbon dioxide, by breathing light and breathing soft and slow, you increase CO2 in the lungs and blood, and this increases blood flow to the brain, and this is a calming effect. But also, if you can't do breathing exercise, say, for instance, some of the people we work with are quite stressed. They can't do exercises, breathing, so they can't do any breathing exercise. So I say, go for a walk with your mouth closed. It's a breathing exercise. Once you do it with your mouth closed, do your yoga with your mouth closed. Once you do it with your mouth closed, do relaxation. You'll find the relaxation free anyway. It's in our app. Have your mouth closed during sleep. That's the key, because there is a huge association between depression and poor sleep. And oftentimes, sometimes we have to think about the Western healthcare model. They've divided the human being into 1,000 different pieces. And the ear, nose, and throat doctor is concentrating on the ear, nose, and throat. The pulmonologist is concentrating on the lungs, even though the lungs and the nose and the throat are all interconnected. But they've divided that into the eye doctor is looking at the eyes. The foot doctor is looking at the foot. So everybody is all of these things. But it's mental health and sleep are really tied together. So if you know somebody with depression, ask them about their sleep. What is their sleep quality like? Is there a link between sleep apnea and depression? Massive link. Is there a link between PTSD and sleep apnea? Yes, there is. Now, it's not known what causes what, but the fact that there is a link there, and you'll find quite a few papers on this, going back the last 40 years. So depression, sleep apnea, and psychosocial, they are major associated comorbidities. OSA is a rapidly growing problem in society. It's connected to the rising rates of obesity. It is true, once we put on a bit of weight, it does increase our risk of sleep apnea. And at the same time, depression is also increasing day by day. Patients with obstructive sleep apnea present with sleep problems, anxiety, and depression. So imagine you have somebody with depression that's going to their doctor and psychiatrist, but they don't just have depression, they also have obstructive sleep apnea, and their sleep quality is lousy, and that's going to be contributing to their mental health deterioration. So the question that we have to ask ourselves is, can patients with obstructive sleep apnea have a higher prevalence of depression than in the general population? So the question here is, can we really get to the root cause of anxiety and depression if we are overlooking breathing and sleep? We have to look at sleep and we have to look at breathing. In terms of panic disorder, think of the person who is having the panic attack and the brown paper bag. Well, why not teach the person with the panic disorder to breathe light, to breathe slow, to breathe low, but you have to go gently with them. because the air hunger that they might feel during the exercise might trigger them into a little bit of panic. So whenever I work, and I've worked with a lot of people, between 2010 and 2013, I had 3,000 people alone with anxiety and panic disorder that I worked with one-to-one, small groups, and face-to-face. So I wasn't just talking, this isn't just breathing from a theoretical point of view. This is 21 years of experience and making plenty of mistakes. And I've put people into panic attacks. So now when I work with somebody with anxiety and panic disorder, we go so gentle, so easy. You know, I start off with a small exercise that we did today. That's why, you know, somebody with panic disorder, start them off with this exercise. Breathe in through the nose, breathe out, and hold the nose for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Let go and breathe in through the nose. And you're breathing normal then for about 10 to 15 seconds. And then again, take a normal breath in through your nose and out through your nose, and pinch your nose and hold. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Let go, breathe in through your nose, and to breathe normal for 10 to 15 seconds. And again, take a normal breath in through your nose and out through your nose, and pinch your nose and hold. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Let go and breathe in through your nose and breathe normal for 10 to 15 seconds. What's happening when you're holding your breath? It's increasing blood flow to the brain. And carbon dioxide is also vagotropic. So when you think of carbon dioxide as this waste gas, it's nothing could be further from the truth. That's why I asked you to experience it. You know, when you did the breath hold earlier on, did you feel that your nose was opening up? When you do small breath holds, when you breathe light, do you notice if there's any activation of a rest and digest response? So the evidence-based role of hypercapnia, which is higher CO2, and the exhalation phase in vagus nerve stimulation, insights into hypercapnic yoga breathing exercises. Now, this isn't yoga breathing at all. This is just breathing. So it's carbon dioxide, blood CO2 concentration has an enhanced effect on the cardio inhibitory response of the vagus nerve during exhalation. So CO2. So coming back to panic disorder, how should the person with panic disorder breathe? How do they breathe normally? Not when they're having a panic attack. You see them. The person with panic disorder comes in. They are already breathing a bit faster. They have a respiratory rate that may be over 14 or 15 or even 16 breaths per minute. They're more likely to be breathing upper chest. They're feeling they're not getting enough air in their normal everyday breathing. They have irregular breathing. They're sighing frequently. They have their mouth open during sleep. And all of those things are then feeding into their panic symptoms. Their everyday breathing is not good. And then they have a difficult situation and it pushes them over the edge. So breathing, you know, so oftentimes people feel that breathing is all about yoga breathing. But, you know, yoga breathing changed in the 1880s. And I've just completed writing a book with a yoga instructor. And the book will be out in about 2 months' time. But I asked a PhD scholar on yoga breathing to write the conclusion of the book. So her PhD is this here. It's called Yoga Breath. And when she looked at the history of breathing in yoga changed in around the 1880s. And it changed due to the hygienic movement. People were dying with tuberculosis. And the idea took hold that, well, in order to prevent or to help the body, then you need to be taking these full big breaths. So the idea started in Europe and went back to India. Before that, breathing in yoga was about light breathing and subtle breathing. So let's just do 5 more minutes of it, and then I'll open the floor to 20 minutes of questions. So why do I like light breathing the most? Because it's so powerful. Can you imagine a breathing technique that even if you practice it for 2 to 3 minutes, you can activate the rest and digest response and you can improve your blood circulation? And the other reason that I like to show it is because all of the nonsense out there about breathing, take a deep breath for yourself, you're stressed. What does a deep breath mean? This is a deep breath. A deep breath simply means that you have lateral expansion and contraction. So my diaphragm is there. That's my chest. This is my abdomen. So my diaphragm separates my chest from the abdomen. So it's shaped like an umbrella. I can kind of feel it a little bit if I was to go in there a little bit. Yeah, it's not always the most pleasant thing to do, but you can kind of feel it there. So a deep breath is lateral expansion and contraction of the lower ribs. As I breathe in, my ribs move out. As I breathe out, my ribs move in. As I breathe in, my ribs move out. As I breathe out, my lower ribs move in. Is there a connection between the diaphragm and the emotions? Yes. So it is true to take a deep breath, but what is a deep breath? So we want light breathing. We want slow breathing. We want deep breathing. So one way to remember it is LSD. So those of you who had wild teenage years, you'll probably remember it pretty easily. L is for light, S is for slow, and D is for deep. There are 3 different dimensions, but each of them has a different effect. Light breathing, improve blood flow, improve oxygen delivery, change your breathing pattern on a regular basis, and activating the rest and digest response, strengthening the barrel reflex, bringing the body and mind into balance. Slow breathing improves alveolar ventilation, better gas exchange taking place. Slow breathing is also helping the body and mind to come into balance. Low breathing, you have the use of the diaphragm, massaging all of the internal organs, increased blood flow back to the heart. You've got people with gastrointestinal issues. Your diaphragm there is massaging all of the internal organs with every breath you're taking during the day. Your diaphragm breathing muscle is also connected with the upper airway dilator muscles in the throat. We don't want our throat collapsing during sleep, but yet up to 50% of people, their throat collapses. So the diaphragm is also connected with the emotions. The diaphragm breathing muscle provides stabilization of the spine. People with lower back pain have dysfunctional breathing, 50% of them. Is it lower back pain which causes dysfunctional breathing, or is it dysfunctional breathing which is feeding into lower back pain? People who are sick have poor breathing. Is it their sickness which is causing poor breathing, or is it their poor breathing which is driving them into an increased sympathetic drive, which is feeding back into the sickness? And I wrote that in the book, The Breathing Cure. I looked at people with diabetes, people with chronic health problems, and look at their breathing patterns. And they were in this increased stress response. And then we have to ask the question, are we really going to get ourselves better? Are we going to make some recovery? I'm not saying a cure, but I'm saying some recovery. Can we help ourselves if we're in this constant stress response? If we have poor sleep and poor breathing, we're not going to help ourselves. So let's do 2 minutes of light breathing. So for those of you who joined later, 50,000 miles of blood flow in the body, blood vessels in the body, 50,000 miles. Can we open them up by doing the opposite to what people normally say? Don't take the big breath. Don't take the full breath. And you hear in the yoga class and everybody's hearing their breathing. Oh, wonderful. We are full big breath. What's that doing to your blood circulation? Constricting it when you breathe too much air. So instead, take a soft, gentle breath in through your nose and a really relaxed and a slow and a gentle breath out. And a soft, gentle breath in through your nose. And a really relaxed and slow, gentle breath out. And a soft, gentle breath in through your nose. And a really relaxed and a slow and a gentle breath out. So this is about breathing light. This is about just softening and slowing down the breathing to the point that you are taking less air into your body. How do you know you are taking less air into your body? You feel air hunger. How do you take less air into the body? Instead of taking the full breath, take in about 70% of the breath. As you're breathing air into your nose, slow down the speed of air coming into your nostrils so that you feel hardly any air coming into your nose. So really slow down the speed of the air coming into the nose. And then at the top of the breath, bring a total feeling of relaxation to the body and have a relaxed and a slow and a gentle breath out. So just to continue with this, you're taking a really soft and a slow and a gentle breath in, and a relaxed and a slow and a gentle breath out.